And we're off to the final of this tournament, of the Tanyas Mud tournaments. We have our potential winner here on the left, Dennis. And our other potential winner here on the right, we have Zuri. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the best of 3 of the final match here. Who's going to come out on top? On the left, we have Dennis, who's been historically through this tournament quite a defensive style player, going with an initial mine and workshop. And on the right, we have Zurli, also going for a mine and a workshop, but a little bit delayed, focusing energy production a little bit earlier on. We'll see which player comes out on top of this exchange. Going for 5 mines. That's a lot of mines, Zurli. What do you plan to do with all of that metal? On the left, Dennis already placing additional metal on his base, armoring himself up. I think there's not much to do at this point, but wait and see. What kind of shenanigans does each player have ready? I'm actually really looking forward to this, because these are players that have done decently well throughout the tournament. And I want to see how they fare off against each other, just to see what kind of strategies come out on top. So far, the strategy that seems to be on top of everyone is the strategy Zurli is going for right now, which is basically just build miniguns. And the other strategy, which Dennis is a fan of, is basically just build cannons. We'll see who's comes out on. See who's gonna win in this, because I think Dennis is gonna go for his defensive, eventually get cannons kind of build, where Zurli is very obviously building for the aggressive start. He's got his upgrade center down for those sweet damage based upgrades. He's already got his minigun or his Gatling gun down, and he's sold off all the metal on his base. Like he's going real quick here. So there's not going to be, he's got his energy, he's not even going to be limited by energy, because he's already got his energy production down. He's got 4 turbines already completed and building up energy reserves. So this is going to be a hard-hitting strike very quickly here. And we're going to find out if Dennis can weather the storm. It's going to be a rain of mortars and bullets very quickly here. Dennis actually electing to go with the factory first, but just as soon as he puts it down, here come those mortars. Every one of those mortars getting upgraded. Looks like Dennis adding in some platforms for machine gunners that'll provide anti-air. How does Zurli react? He doesn't have his Gatling gunner online just yet, so the Gatling gunner can't quite be used to clear out those machine gunners, and Zurli's going to have about 1 shot of these mortars before those gunners come online. And gunners come online just in time to save 2 of themselves, but not all 3. So those mortars should be roughly shut down. Zurli's going to need to be able to take out those gunners, which he can do with the Gatling gun. Gatling gun coming out, clearing out most of those gunners. Only 1 remains, and it's not enough to stop all the mortars. One of the mortars gets through and begins the mortar damage output. Looks like Zurli adding in some additional storages. Those mortars, 1 of them making it across, the other is getting shut down. Ideally, Zurli adds a little bit more of a harassment style weapon so that he can actually clear out those machine gunners. Perhaps some machine gunners of his own. Uh-oh, that's a mistake. Zurli sending the minigunner, or the Gatling gunner, into the grounds, not clearing the way for the mortars. Dennis is able to freely expand. He's still adding on extra goodies. The damage is not being dealt to Dennis. The skies are still being cleared, and Zurli... There it is. Only 1 machine gunner left, and that is almost never enough to stop the mortars. The mortars do land, chopping off some of the machine gun placements. How does Dennis react? Now, at this point, Dennis does not have a heavy weapon of his own. He doesn't have a laser, he doesn't have an out here. He's still just fending off the damage. So while Dennis is pseudo-expanding, he's adding more metal just through all of this. So he's able to defend effectively. He's just spending his resources on adding more defenses rather than stopping the shots from coming in. So this is enabling Jury here to add additional weapons instead of having to focus on actually defending himself, which is going to cause a little bit of a problem because now Dennis does not have enough anti-air to deal with all of these. Like you cannot, machine gunners, they don't stop the swarm missiles. It's really adding in the swarm missile launchers, the Tanyas version that can be placed on struts, and those are they're quite strong, especially versus things like machine gunners. They do not have the ability to stop that at all. And with the mortars now free to deal their damage, the mortars will just perpetually just dig into Dennis's base, and all of that beautiful armor that he spent all that resources building is it's now being dug into quite quickly. A little bit of anti-synergy with the Gatling gunner shooting down most of his own mortars. But we now have the upgraded swarm launchers out of Zerli. They now fire larger rockets, and while they're a bit more vulnerable to machine gunners, they do hit a lot harder. Not sure that was the correct call. Usually you want to leave at least one of them to be swarm missiles to deal with the machine gunners, but he may just have enough ballistic weapons to keep track of all of it and just to stay on top of all of it. Just overwhelm the point defense options of Dennis here. He may need some additional energy production though to maintain constant firing of these, because these things, they cost a lot. Oh! Yep, there are the upgrades. There are the upgraded swarm missile launchers doing a hefty amount of damage. It's worth noting that these aren't true nukes, nor are they true swarm missiles. They don't have the same amount of damage or missile count, but it's pretty close, as you can tell by most of Dennis's base just being obliterated there. Dennis now resorting to sandbags to try to stop some of those hits from coming in. Julie needs to have a little bit more clearing potential for those machine gunners. He's adding so many more energy production options. Upgraded batteries, more wind turbines, upgrading turbines. Here come the upgraded missiles. One hit does a hefty amount of damage, but no broken bracing. Julie adding in additional production and storage. You can tell Julie is hurting for energy production. He just needs so much more to keep these weapons going. Every time the Gatling gun fires, it just tears so many holes into Dennis's base. Dennis just barely managing to scrape out a second swarm missile, but has yet to be able to keep a sniper alive long enough to fire it. Here. Oh! Well, where there once was a sniper, there is now a giant gaping hole in the base. He's gonna have to reconstruct that entire segment of the base to even put a sniper back. Or just find a new place for the sniper, because if those missiles are aimed at that location, Dennis has a single gunner left, guys. A single gunner. One gunner is not nearly enough to stop the amounts of weapons coming toward him. Everything lands, boys. And with that, just about every ounce of defense Dennis has built completely stripped away from his base. Dennis's core is smoking. Things are looking really bad for him, boys. He does still, at this time, have enough material, enough economy to rebuild, but I don't think he can do it fast enough. Just the sheer damage output that's happening right now, it's chunking his base faster than he can physically rebuild it. Another nuke and mortars. His core is just shy of exposed, and one more volley may see the end of Dennis here. They're 2K to fire. They're expensive. They're quite expensive. Oh, the Gatling gun almost finishing it off, taking out so many of those critical foundation bracings. Uh-oh. more chip damage onto the core. The core is actually taking some fairly significant damage now. It's actually almost critical. That's like 50. That's almost 50% smoking at this point. Another wave of mortars. Just keeping the base in check while we wait for the other weapons to come off cooldown. The mortars themselves not the greatest threat, but they prevent the rebuilds, and then these come in for the cleanup. Zerly takes round 1. And we're off to round 2. Ladies and gentlemen, here on the left side we have Dennis. And on the right we have Zerly. This is a map we have seen before, one that's very similar to Abyss, but has these giant immortal cables attaching to the base, keeping the base intact, if a little bit unsteady. It can be a little bit unnerving to have your base hanging by such wobbly threads, but it will maintain its position. Now we'll see Zerly here. He has been the aggressor in all of his matches thus far, starting out with a mine, a turbine, and a workshop. On the left side, we're actually going for a similar build here, starting with a turbine, or not a turbine, a mine, a workshop, and it looks to be here a mine immediately, or no, a turbine immediately after. There it is. 2 turbines actually. Now Dennis here on the left has been on the defensive by his own volition. He's chosen to go with defensive builds, and it's carried him thus far. But now we're facing off against Zerly, the aggressor, and well, it was made for a very one-sided match in the first round. We'll see if it changes anything here in the second. Now, their swarm missiles are not really an option here. It is technically possible to build swarm missiles in the rear here and portal them out. It's kind of difficult, usually not worth, and you can only ever build one unless you sell off your mines, at which point you don't have the money to build more. So now I've said this before about Dennis, because Dennis likes to build his upgrade center. Usually when you have a tier 1 technology, the workshop or armory, and you build an upgrade center, it is because you wish to upgrade your tier 1 weapons. Dennis has consistently gotten an upgrade center and then not built tier 1 weapons, and also not upgraded his economy, which is usually the other reason why you would get an upgrade center early, so that you get an upgrade center early so you can upgrade your economy, so you can have more things for the later game. So I'm not sure what Dennis is going to do with his upgrade center. I'm just going to have to watch and see. Whereas on this side, Zerly already has a Gatling gunner halfway done, and a munitions plant. I think because Zerly doesn't have access to swarm missiles, he's not going to go with the upgrade center, because his usual thing is to go for nukes plus Gatling guns. Use the Gatling gun to clear out any anti-air, use the nuke to finish off. Left side, we also have a Gatling gun down for Dennis, but Dennis's Gatling gun is a little bit further behind. Dennis also doesn't have a tech path to transition out of it just yet. So we'll see what his options are. He's referring to the anti-gravity reactor. Will help keep his base stable, not that the hanging base or the side bases really need it. Zerly's Gatling gunner is almost completed. What does he do with it? Dennis a big fan of his metal armor. Metal armor, great for deflecting Gatling guns. How well does it work here? I think Dennis just knows that Zerly's going to go for Gatling guns, yeah. And with it, that's going to leave a lot of metal available to deflect all of those bullets. So Dennis will be able to hold off the Gatling gun for now. But Zerly's already working his way up to a cannon. In fact, I think he's about to place one. He just built a platform that can support a cannon. Zerly's going to fire the Gatling gun once more. There it is. He sees the doors, he sees all the slanted metal, sees he's not doing any damage. He already has an upgrade center. Ah, instead of going for cannons, he is going for... of course he's going for the swarm missiles. He's going for the horizontally placed swarm missiles. This is another weapon unlocked by the factory, or by the munitions plant. Well, that explains why he wanted those. I was going to say, mortars on this map are very powerful because it can hit the nodes that are attached to the cables and destroy them. Swarm missiles can do the same kind of idea when coming in from the top, which is what Zerly is going for instead of mortars. He's just going for the upgraded missiles. He's probably, if I were a betting man, I'm going to guess that he's going to upgrade those before firing them. That way, Dennis here doesn't know what's going to hit him. Yep, there are the upgrades. Dennis never know what's going to hit him before it's too late, and he's getting nuked. Dennis actually upgrading to the grenade launcher before firing the first time. Mostly missing. More shots going out of Zerly here. No damage dealt, most bullets ricocheting harmlessly. The last upgrade on those missile launchers has been triggered, so those will be fired very shortly. Looks like Dennis ready to fire another volley. No significant damage dealt. Some wooden bracing destroyed. Dennis easily replaces. And there's the first missile launch. There's the second. Ladies and gentlemen, we have chip damage dealt to Dennis. Dennis is very much so on the back foot now. Dennis has got to change something. And Zerly is, well, he's reacting by building anti-air all over the place. Thankfully for Dennis, Dennis still has a minigunner, or Gatling gunner, able to clear that out. All of Zerly's anti-air investment just vaporized. The slanted armor paying off for Dennis very, very strongly. Zerly's still running out of energy despite having all that production. Oh. Yeah, that's gonna be rough. If Zerly's Gatling gun comes off cooldown in the next few seconds, which I think it might, he could take out all of Dennis's weapons before the doors become corporeal. One of them is completed. Oh, Dennis aims center mass instead of aiming for the weapons. Zerly still doesn't have enough energy production to fire all of those. He's waiting. I think he wants to fire them all at once, now that he's got the aim on point. I could still only fire one. There's two. And more damage to the core. Adds the third. Third a little high. Not able to actually break those chains. Usually looks like he needs a little bit more energy production in there. Perhaps energy storage. Whew. Yeah, Zerly upgrading those turbines to try to get a little bit more in there, as he's hurting for power right now. More missiles. More damage to the core. Does Zerly finally have enough energy production to constantly keep up the firepower? I think the answer might be a yes, because those missiles are coming out real quick now. Come on, there he goes. I think that third one was misaimed. Nope, that's just about right. That'll do it. He's adding a fourth one in there. Of course he's adding a fourth one in there. Now, where do you fire this? Well, right into the angled armor trap. Oof. Yeah. Yeah, Dennis is hurting real hard. You can see Dennis's core is smoking constantly, so that's a really bad indicator. It means that his core has got a very, very little HP remaining. He can only take so many more of these rockets before his core just explodes from ship damage. Every time his core gets hit, it gets closer and closer to death. Uh-oh. Yep, there go the last of Dennis's weapons. Doesn't have any offensive potential remaining. How do you react, Dennis? What is your plan? Tries to reconnect to the top, but those missiles have a clear path to hit the top of his core. Dennis still has all of his economy up and running. He doesn't have to worry about running out of resources just yet, but he does need a plan to be able to, well, stay alive long enough to field weapons and return fire. There it is. Zerly is our winner of this tournament.